Husband not interested in sex, but I want another baby. My marriage has been very hard since having a baby. I was never thin but not fat either before having a baby. I gained a lot of weight, 60 less, during my pregnancy due to health complications, but lost 80 less 1 year postpartum with a lot of hard work. I was feeling great about myself. I also felt great about myself before having a baby, even though I didn't have a completely flat stomach. I know I don't look magazine ready or like women in movies or on Instagram, but I don't think I am an ogre. While I do not think I am an ogre, my husband certainly makes me feel like one. Even before the baby, I had put on a few pounds during COVID, and he would make comments about how I would like better in certain outfits if I dieted. It stung me, and was also annoying because he had a dad bod before even becoming a dad, so I wasn't sure why he was commenting on my body. I remember while I was pregnant and super horny, I wore a really cute lingerie that I felt gorgeous in for him. We had not had sex in months at that point. He rejected me pretty hardcore, and I have not felt comfortable wearing lingerie in front of him since then. That was years ago. I had a little box in my closet for lingerie that I threw away because I cannot imagine ever having the confidence to wear anything like that again. I avoided changing my clothes in front of him the rest of my pregnancy because I felt a lot of shame about my body, and that has also continued for years till this day. Now I always try to change in the bathroom or closet, or if I hear him approaching in the hallway, I quickly at least try to put a shirt on to cover my stomach. The only nice thing he said to me while I was pregnant was that my boobs got upgraded. Insulting because I normally have smaller boobs, and it was pretty disheartening to hear him say that. Anyways, we don't see eye to eye on many things, but the sex after having a baby is pretty much non-existent. We probably have sex once every 4 months. I get more compliments from homeless men than my husband. He pretty much works all day, is cranky to me and our baby in the evening, and then stays up until 2 a.m. watching Netflix or video games. We don't usually sleep at the same time. I know nighttime isn't the only time to have sex, but we do have a child and jobs. And the wild thing is, all the times we have had sex since becoming parents, which again is once every 4 months, he usually is sleeping in the dead of night and then wakes me up and does the deed in like 5 minutes in the dark. It's almost like he is having a dream and just trying to let something out. It's not emotional at all. It doesn't make me feel wanted. It's almost transactional. It's kind of been weird, to be honest. He also doesn't kiss me much and told me after we got married that I am a terrible kisser. He never said that while we were dating, and I have had other relationships before him and no one had a problem with my kissing. His aggressive and rude comments about my kissing has led to me kissing him less and less over the years. He makes me feel ugly and self-conscious. He is very quick to point out my flaws, like if I get a pimple, which happens maybe 3 times a year. He will make a grossed-out face and inform me I have a pimple, as if I didn't know. Or make snide comments about my hair. I get super offended and confused and even asked him at one point if he wanted to be with me still, and his response was yes, me and our daughter are his whole world. Anyways, needless to say, I feel pretty confident that he is not attracted to me at all. I get confused at times because he was really eager to marry me and we had decent sex while dating and in our first year of marriage before the pregnancy, and I was never looking like a model at any point in time. I know I'm probably a 6'5/10 based on societal standards, but I don't think I'm usually. I'm not beautiful, I'm just a regular girl who is potentially attractive to other people. I don't know what to do to make him attracted to me. He says I don't initiate, and it's true because we hardly speak to each other. We argue a lot about parenting issues, and he does not stimulate me mentally or emotionally anymore at this point. I wonder sometimes if he stays up late at night to watch porn downstairs. I'm not really eager to engage with him sexually, but I do want to have one more child. I know you are probably reading this wondering why I want another child with him. I don't know if I can be married to him forever, but at least my kid can have a sibling. At this rate, if I do get a divorce, I feel like no one is going to want me in my mom bod. I am not a smoking hot mom. I have stretch marks and a mom pouch. I don't have Instagram hair or double Ds. I am worthy of love like every human being is, but if we are being full on, my chance at a relationship if my marriage ends is pretty slim because looks do matter, and I don't think anyone would want me. The father of my child doesn't even want me. How can I expect a random other man to? I know you never know what's going to happen, but I would rather ensure my kid has a sibling so that if we do ever divorce and I spend the rest of my life alone, my kid can still have a sibling to help them get through life. I know this sounds super fucked up in many ways, but I don't know what to do. I mean, to any men reading this, is it really hard to be attracted to your wife when she is pregnant or postpartum? Are women still fuckable with mom pouches? Would you marry someone you don't enjoy kissing or having sex with? I got down to 145 pounds and I am 5'4". Again, not looking like Bella Hadid, but also not looking like Shrek either. I always think, I just wish I knew what was wrong with me, but when I look in the mirror and think of all the ways my husband does not look at me or engage, I know the reasons. And it sucks. Should I leave him? Or how do I get him to be more interested in me so I can give my child a sibling? Story 2. Starting over, career and life at 40. People's reactions are discouraging. Need moral support. Hi all, I'm restarting my career and life at nearly 40 and it's been so hard. Long story short, I finally managed to leave a 10-year toxic relationship where I sacrificed my career to support my ex when he was gravely ill, and he ended up cheating on me once he recovered from his illness, after I invested years into our relationship and his health. I've learned my lesson. Never again. I've enrolled into a master's program and found an internship in a field I want to pursue. This was very tough, but actually the hardest part has been something unexpected for me: people's reactions to my age. In my master's there are many 23, 25-year-olds, and I told them I was 30, lol, because I was afraid I'd become a social outcast, and in hindsight I was right to do this. They were still shocked at the idea of me being 30, because that's old for them. However, at my internship in the company, I decided to tell people my real age, and they also didn't hide their shock, not in a good way. I'm the oldest intern by 10 years. I've also had a friend tell me, "You're too old to go back to school." My issue is, this is going to follow me for years to come. I'm going to be in very junior roles while people my age in my field are directors and senior managers. And if I lie about my age, I feel like I'm hiding behind a mask. On top of all this, I have very little savings and generally scared of the future. I've lost everything in my divorce, and these types of comments from people make me feel even worse. I'm also currently living in a European country that I find to be quite ageist, despite considering itself modern and progressive. Studying here is cheaper, so I might as well. I may move back to North America in a few years, but I'm not sure these reactions will stop. I'm scared it will get worse. Do you have any words of wisdom for me? How do I grow a thicker skin and just keep on trucking despite people judging me for my age? Has anyone experienced anything similar? Thank you for any insights or words of comfort. Story 3. Wife is leaving me for a better Muslim. TLDR. Wife of 10 years left me for someone she says is a better Muslim than me. It was sudden and no signs were shown this was coming. She says it is because of another guy she has been thinking about, but I also suspect she has been talking to. She says this guy is a better Muslim than me, and she feels he is better than me to be with. I am completely broken inside. My faith and worldview is crumbling away. I'm in a pain I never could have imagined existed, and I can't help but to question everything I thought I once believed. She was my world and was so loving to me. Now she is sadistic and cruel in a matter of a week. I get tests and hardships from Allah. This is too much on my heart. Is blackening, and as much as I try not to have this blackened heart, I fear there is nothing I can do to stop it when faced with the reality of this twisted nightmare. How do I make it through all this without a broken person and blackened heart? Been married for 10 years to my wife I loved more than anything. We are both Muslim. Our marriage has had its ups and downs. 8 months ago she did a huge mistake to me. I won't go into detail here. I forgave her eventually. After we promised to be better Muslims together, she would not lie anymore and I would pray more consistently and go to the mosque more often. These were our renewed vows and for the most part I kept it, except for some prayers missed. I tried to be a perfect Muslim, have never in my life drank alcohol, smoked, fasted every Ramadan, etc. A month ago she tells me that she is thinking about another guy. I am confused and concerned and told her this was obviously a problem and we need to talk about why. 2 days later says she wants a divorce. I am shocked and confused as everything to this point had been great, I believed. We had constantly been telling each other how much we love each other, and she would often cry saying how much she loves me and is scared to lose me. I was frantic and asked what happened. She was scheduled to leave to visit family in another city for 3 days, so she says she won't do the divorce or make any decisions until she got back. It had been a month. She never came back and stayed at her family. Her decision of divorce became more and more intense with time. Despite me explaining to her the procedures for divorce in Islam, she did not care. She never tried to resolve anything, nor did she observe the iddah period. For the past 8 months she told me everything was fine in the marriage. The decision was sudden. Today she came to pick her stuff up. First time I could see her in a month. I asked why she was doing this. I asked her about the guy she mentioned thinking about a month ago. She had been denying this was about him, but I had strong suspicions and even some inconclusive evidence that it is about him. I pleaded with her to tell me the truth. Eventually, she confesses that she is thinking about the guy and wants to pursue him. I am heartbroken but ask what it was that made him better than me. She tells me it is his Islam, it is better. He knows everything in Islam better than me. I'm silent for a while and just tell her good luck, and I walk away. To clarify what she means by better Muslim, I grew up in a Muslim home, but a broken one in America. My parents were never around, and I just never had the traditional Muslim teachings other than praying and fasting. She is referring things like celebrating Eid and other Muslim events with family, being able to read the Quran in Arabic, memorizing surahs in the Quran, etc. I was never afforded a traditional Muslim household as she grew up in. I don't know what to feel right now. I am overwhelmed. My very perception of Islam is being shaken. This is so wrong. A part of me feels like a bad Muslim now. Another part I feel dominated by some other guy that understands Islam better than me and was able to take my wife away. Another part makes me almost want to resent Islam for how twisted this all is. And of course, another part is grasping with the idea that she was never really Muslim to begin with, as her actions cannot coincide with the teachings of real Islam. I feel so broken inside, a pain I never even could have imagined existing in intensity. My mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul, my worldview, my trust in people, my faith in Allah and everything I thought I knew. 10 years and it was all a lie. 10 years and I was thrown away like nothing for a better Muslim. My mind and heart are so twisted. I want a perspective on this from Muslim scholars and other Muslims, the perspective of her actions. I get it, we are supposed to take hard times as a test from Allah. I can't bear this, though, because this attacks not just my heart but also destroys the very foundation of my belief system. My wife was so loving and kind. For her to do this so suddenly and sadistically truly makes it near impossible for me to uphold my belief system. How do I make it through all this without a broken person and blackened heart? Story 4. Divorce after 50. AMEI stupid? I met my husband at 14 years old, married at 25. His strength and aggression was what initially drew me towards me. I'd be protected. His aggression turned towards me surprise. I also blame his behavior on our son's estrangement. I know I can't put all the blame there, but the resentment I have towards him for not fixing it and bringing him back home is big. I check his phone and he hasn't even tried to reach out in an entire year. I've been 80% a stay-at-home mom, but always the one to manage the bills and money. He has no concept of budgeting. He's like a child with birthday money every payday buying nonsense. He does work hard, but the spending is ridiculous. I'm afraid I'll end up eating cat food in my old age, seriously. He lacks hygiene and is obese, but recently started dieting. I've moved into the guest room a year ago. He doesn't hit me but constantly throws negative comments my way. I have pain in my neck for 3 years straight that I realize went away on a short trip away from him. Part of me thinks I can just do better with the financial situation, get a job and continue to live this way, looking for connections outside the home through friends or a career, and still have my husband to take care of me. But the idea of having someone who actually values connection and me as a person is something I want. Connection is the biggest thing I want from life. It won't happen with him. He isn't my partner, more like my child. Fear keeps me stuck. The thought of being old and alone with nobody to care for me scares me. The thought of wasting my life being treated like shit and working until I die at some grocery store without an actual career is scary too. I think if I had a daughter living this life, I would tell her leave, that she deserves love, respect, and happiness. I also wonder if I would find the courage, happiness, and zest for life that I lack if I left this negative, abusive environment. Is it the trauma keeping me here? Starting over at 51, is it really worth it? Story 5. Wife wants to go back home every year. Hello, my wife and I just got recently married. We have been together for about 7 months or so, and she moved to my country, US, from the Middle East. We have no children yet, and I am working, and she is a stay-at-home spouse. At the beginning of our relationship, before we were married, we discussed the topic of her going back home to her home country to visit her family throughout our life. We had both agreed on every couple of years or so, and it would completely depend on our financial situation. The plane tickets are so expensive, and it is so far away, and there are a ton of other expenses that come with staying in another country for a long period of time. I also didn't want to live a life far away from my partner for long periods of time, and potentially my children, so ideally we could go together. Over time, though, and especially right before we got married and post-marriage, she has changed her mind because she is really close to her family and is homesick. She says she wants to go every year, and she has even threatened divorce multiple times over it. I technically can afford for her to go every year, but it would take away from our future goals and financial security. The goal is to retire early and hopefully open a business of some sorts, so we don't rely on my single income forever, or if I ever lose my job. I've agreed with her at times and pushed back at times. It's been a never-ending argument in our relationship, and to be honest, I don't feel comfortable with her going every single year based on the above. I am not sure what to do. Should we go our separate ways? She doesn't want to compromise at all. Any advice would be appreciated. Thank you. Story 6. Just married and already talking about divorce. Hello, so I'm 25F and just got married to 26M. I've only known my husband for 6 months, and we've only been married for 2 months. He says he loves and shows me a lot of affection, but sometimes, like today, he'll just cause random arguments. Let me explain. I had my ring off because I was doing the dishes. We then went out and I had forgotten to put my ring back on, leading him to take his ring off whilst we're out. I had mine off by mistake and he did that on purpose. Anyway, I didn't take it too serious and just low-key laughed it off. We got home and he left his ring in the car. He said he'd get it later. Some time passes and I'm on FaceTime to my sister. My sister and I are very close. I jokingly say, "Oh look, he don't have his ring on, I need a new husband." I said this very jokingly to my sister. I hang up FaceTime, and he is so angry I go in the room next door till he calms down. I come back in and he had fallen asleep. He wakes up in anger and goes into full screaming mode about how I shouldn't joke about wanting a new husband. And he blames that his ring is off on me. So again leave him to calm down. I go and prepare dinner for him. I even cut out a little heart out of a tomato email, but he don't eat it, and come into the living room saying he is seriously rethinking things. Rethinking our marriage and wants to have a serious chat once he is fully calmed down. Is he overreacting because he just wants a divorce and is looking for any reason, or is this valid? Someone, please help. Any advice will be appreciated. Update. I apologize many times, but he's saying I should go home to my parents' house for a couple of weeks so he can rethink things. It seems as though he's looking for any excuse to divorce me. Maybe he didn't think it through and don't want me married anymore. I don't know. Story 7. What does working on the relationship look like? I'm not sure if my approach is flawed, so I'd love to know how you ladies do it. I've been dating since my teens, single, never married, no kids. My conflict resolution skills have evolved thanks to a lot of therapy and self-reflection. Now, whenever I'm in a relationship and he does something that upsets me, I will let him know that I need some space to cool off, a day or two. I will then calmly revisit the situation with him and explain what he did to upset me and why it made me feel hurt. I will make sure that the conversation includes a discussion on how we/he can do things differently next time to prevent the same hurt from happening. He agrees. This process applies to any type of conflict. I do the above process twice in a row. That means if the same issue or conflict arises the second time with no effort towards changed behavior and no remorse for failing to even make an attempt at changing the behavior, I'll still apply the process above. But I'll mention that if it happens a third time, I'll no longer be interested in staying in the relationship. When it happens a third time in the same fashion, I exit the relationship quietly. I was recently speaking to a male friend of mine who is also single, never married, no kids. There is a 10-year age gap between us. I'm 30 AF, he's 48 M. I recently got out of a 5-month-long relationship and was explaining to him what happened, including the process above. His response was, "So you didn't want to work on the relationship because that's the problem with dating these days. No one wants to work on the relationship." I told him that the 3-strike process was my attempt at working on the relationship, and then it clicked for him. I've had other men make the same comment as my friend. Is my approach flawed? I feel like if I stay in relationships where I keep harping on the same issues, I become a resentful nag and he ends up wanting out of the relationship for that reason. I take the same approach outlined above with friends and family as well. It tends to work well for the people who are still in my life, and my life is more peaceful than it has been in the past, when I thought I could change or fix others. I'm interested in hearing from women in their 40s who were never married, are married, or divorced about what working on a relationship looks like in a manner that yields positive results. I feel like my circle is small due to my approach, but maybe that's not such a bad thing? Get it. I didn't provide enough context about me needing 1 or 2 days worth of space to cool off from conflict. It's not 1 or 2 days of no contact. It's 1 or 2 days to gather my thoughts around that specific issue. For the 1 or 2 days I don't want to talk about that issue, but after the cool-off time I will want to circle back and sort it out when I can be coherent and not have my emotions hinder a productive conversation. In the meantime, he can tell me how his day went and vice versa, etc. I explain this conflict management style to men I'm dating very early on, even before there is any conflict, so that there are no surprises. I even offer them the same or more time and space because I can't handle being yelled at due to childhood trauma. As long as they communicate that they need the time in each instance of conflict, so I'm not left wondering why we didn't tie up loose ends. And Story 8. To get my degree or remarry. Salam everyone, I hope all is well. I've been divorced since 2022 due to my ex-husband being emotionally and verbally abusive and narcissistic. Alhamdulillah, I got out of it, and it took me a while to heal from the trauma. Yesterday, my sister made some not-so-smart decisions, which I can't say due to privacy reasons and out of respect for my sister. Because of that, since her priorities aren't straight, and my mom wanted to give me some heart to heart, what rubbed me the wrong way was when I told her my interest in getting married again by the end of this year or even next year if possible. But she shut that down and said my only priority should be to get my degree, since I'm 26 and don't have my college degree yet. School has been very hard for me, and I've recently changed my major to one that I will hopefully enjoy. Won't say until I start. I said that I think it's time for me to remarry and leave the house, since I do not want to burden her or my father by staying at the house longer. But she kept assuring me that it's not a problem and I need to focus on getting my degree before even considering getting married again. I think she's saying this due to the stress that my sister put my parents through in the past 24 hours. But it still kind of bothers me, and I wonder if my mother had a point. Should I consider focusing on my degree and forget about remarriage until graduation? Or should I remarry and focus on my degree on top of that? In my mom's mind, I should forget about marriage because it's not important, and honestly, it's not like her to say those things, and she is always encouraged to find someone who makes me happy in every way and not be with someone who enjoys hurting me. I would really love some advice on this matter. Thanks in advance.